Most Americans have less money than you probably think. The median bank account balance in the US is just $8,000. That's not a typo, $8,000, not $80,000. If your checking or savings account holds more than that, congratulations, you're ahead of half the country. But pause for a second, half of all households in America have less than $8,000 in liquid savings. And here's the kicker: the economy looks amazing on paper. Stock markets hit record highs in 2025, unemployment is low, inflation has slowed down. And yet, if you're watching this right now, there's a good chance you feel like you're barely keeping your head above water. You're not imagining it. I'm Chris, and I've spent months digging through Federal Reserve reports, surveys, and consumer finance data to figure out what's really happening with American money. Because while the headlines celebrate growth, wages, and market gains, the numbers tell a very different story. Here's a number that will make you pause. 67% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. 2/3 of the country. And this isn't just minimum wage workers. This includes lawyers, engineers, managers, people making six figures. They get paid, the money disappears into rent, mortgages, groceries, car payments, and by the next paycheck, it's gone. This isn't poverty. It's a system trapping the middle class. And it gets worse. Nearly 1 in 4 Americans have zero emergency savings. Nothing. Not a rainy day fund, not a cushion. If their car breaks down, the water heater explodes, or they get sick, they're instantly in crisis. They're not irresponsible. There's just nothing left after covering basic living costs. Then there's retirement. Over half of U.S. households have no dedicated retirement savings at all. They're too busy surviving the present to plan for the future. You've probably heard inflation is cooling off. True, the pace of increase has slowed, but that doesn't undo what's already happened. Prices for goods and services are about 25% higher than they were in 2020. Groceries, rent, insurance, they've all jumped, while wages have barely kept up. For most people, income has risen maybe 10% at best. That gap between costs and earnings isn't just a gap, it's a canyon. No wonder 32% of Americans expect their finances to get worse in 2026. That's the highest financial pessimism since 2018. Despite the positive headlines, 1/3 of the country is bracing for a hard year. And they're right to worry. Here's another eye-opener. When Americans were asked how much net worth they'd need to feel wealthy, the answer was $2.5 million. That's not retiring comfortably. It's just feeling rich. And the median number for retiring comfortably? $1.26 million. Meanwhile, actual retirement savings? Most people are nowhere near that. Not even close. And averages can be misleading. You often hear that the average 40-year-old has $91,000 saved for retirement. Sounds decent, right? But that number is skewed by the wealthy few. The median, the number that really shows where the middle stands, is much lower. Under 25, median savings equals $2,800, 25 to 34, $15,000, 35 to 44, $35,500, 45 to $5,500, $55,500, 85 to 64, 87.55s, Woolen, $88,500, $88,000 at retirement age isn't enough. Even with Social Security, you'd struggle to cover living costs. Debt makes it even harder. Gen Z, 1828, $34,000 in debt. Millennials, 29-44,000, $132,000. Gen X, 45 to 60, $158,000. Baby Boomers, 61 to 79, $92,000. And credit cards, the average balance is nearly $7,000. Nearly half of cardholders don't pay in full each month, meaning they're paying 20% plus interest, essentially a tax for being short on cash. Minimum payments stretch for 8 years, costing thousands in interest alone. The root of the problem isn't laziness, it's the system. Housing costs, healthcare, childcare, and everyday living expenses have skyrocketed, while wages barely budged. Even saving 3 and 4% of your income, the current average, is a struggle. The historical norm is closer to 8%, and experts recommend 20% to build real wealth. Housing is brutal too. Renters are squeezed. The median rent hit $2,000 per month, consuming over 30% of the median household income. Homeowners aren't off the hook either. New mortgages at 6 to 8% interest, plus taxes and insurance, can take half of take-home pay. Yet if you bought before 2020, your net worth on paper might look amazing, but you can't pay groceries with home equity. This is the split-screen economy. The economy is growing. Markets are booming. But most people feel trapped, living paycheck to paycheck, drowning in debt. So, what can you do? You can't change interest rates or housing costs, but you can control your own margin. The difference between what you earn and what you spend is your power. Track it, grow it, use it to build an emergency fund, pay down debt, or invest. Even a small margin compounds over time. The system may be broken, but you're not powerless. Don't compare yourself to the headlines or the wealthy few. Compare yourself to your own progress. Track your spending, manage your debt, and protect your future. It won't happen overnight, but step by step, you can escape the cycle. And that fight? It's worth it.